Welcome to The Thinking Chamber. Today, we tell the story of partition, not through politics, but through people. This is not just a story of history. It's a story of humanity, torn and trembling, still echoing across generations. Partition 1947, the day the subcontinent was torn apart. They say borders are drawn to protect people, but in 1947, a border did something else. It didn't protect. It cut through homes, through villages, through hearts. 15 million people were cast adrift. Up to 2 million never made it to the other side. And the scars, they're not just in history books. They live in stories whispered at night, in trembling hands holding old keys, in the silence of those who saw too much to speak. I still have the keys, one survivor said softly, to a house I haven't seen since I was 6. This wasn't just a political decision. This was the day fear, haste, and empire tore a civilization apart. This is the story of partition. And we tell it not to divide, but to remember what it cost. To understand partition, we must go back to when the East India Company, chartered in 1600s, came not as conquerors, but as merchants. But by the 19th century, they ruled through trade, taxes, and treaties. After the rebellion of 1857, the British Crown took direct control through the Government of India Act 1858. Then came a strategy that would leave generations broken: divide and rule. Through policies like the 1909 Morley-Minto reforms, elections began separating people by faith. The census reduced identity to a tick box. In 1905, Bengal was split along religious lines. A move reversed only after mass protests. Still, for centuries, people shared streets, shrines, songs, but by the 1930s and 40s, competing dreams emerged. Some leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru wanted a united India. But Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the leader of Muslim League, called for a separate nation for Muslims, Pakistan. In 1946, Britain sent the cabinet mission to try for unity, but talks collapsed, and the ground beneath the subcontinent began to crack. Partition was not a clean line. It was a series of explosions. On Direct Action Day, August 16, 1946, what began as a political protest in Calcutta turned into a massacre. In just 4 days, more than 4,000 people were killed. Then came a wave of horror. In Noakhali, homes were burned and families disappeared. In Bihar, revenge turned rivers red. And in Garmukteshwar, a peaceful fair became a scene of brutal killings. Each place added to a growing storm of fear, loss, and silence. And in March 1947, Rawalpindi saw villages reduced to ash, entire communities erased overnight. After World War II, Britain grew weary and faced pressure at home. They decided to leave India quickly. In March 1947, they sent Lord Louis Mountbatten as the last viceroy to oversee the transition. By June 3rd, British leaders announced their decision that they would split India into 2 dominions. But no one knew exactly where the borders would lie. They brought in Sir Ratcliffe, a British lawyer who had never set foot in India, didn't know its languages or people, and they gave him just 5 weeks to divide 175,000 square miles. With no recent census, no reliable maps, and almost no understanding of the land, Radcliffe drew the line. across Punjab and Bengal. On August 14, 1947, Pakistan was born. On August 15, India celebrated freedom. But the border itself wasn't published until August 17. For 2 days, millions fled without knowing which country they now belonged to. They ran not towards safety, but away from the unknown. By the time the line was made public, the exodus had already begun, chaotic, desperate, and blind. Partition triggered the largest mass migration in human history, according to the UNHCR and multiple global studies. More than 15 million people crossed what was now a border. They walked, rode carts, clung to trains, searching for safety. But many trains didn't arrive with passengers. They arrived with corpses. In every direction, revenge raced faster than refugees. Entire towns were emptied. Women were kidnapped, assaulted, or forced into marriage. And children were orphaned before they could even spell their names. Up to 2 million people died. 75,000 women were taken across borders, never to be seen again. In 1950, the Inter-Dominion Agreement led to the Abducted Persons Act. But of those women, only 30,000 were ever found. Many had started new lives. Some had nowhere left to return to. Which family, one woman asked, the one I lost or the one I now belong to? Partition is often blamed on religion, but religion didn't cause the violence. Fear did, power did, pride did. Faith was used as a weapon by some, but for others, it remained a reason to protect. In one town, a man disguised a young girl as his daughter to get her across the border safely. In another, a widow hid entire families in her home, knowing discovery would only mean death. In Multan, a priest opened his doors to anyone seeking shelter and lost his life protecting them. Not all chose violence. Some chose courage and compassion, and that too is part of our inheritance. Partition didn't stop in 1947. It shaped our borders. It influenced our politics. It left its mark on our people. Just 2 months later, the conflict over Kashmir erupted. India and Pakistan fought 3 wars. In 1998, both countries tested nuclear weapons. India in Pokhran, Pakistan in Chagai. Across the world, second and third generation children still ask, where are we from? You'll find these answers in old recipes, in photo albums that hold faces no one ever said goodbye to. Lahore and Amritsar, 2 cities that once danced to the same rhythm, now stare at each other through a barbed wire. We didn't just divide land. We tore apart poetry. We silenced songs. We separated love. This division was not just politics, it was heartbreak. And yet, people rebuilt. They sang again, they raised children, they survived. Some even crossed back, years later, not for revenge, but to touch graves, plant trees, and whisper apologies. This is not a tale of who was right. It is a story of what was lost. So let's remember partition, not to reopen wounds, but to understand the cost of silence. Let's remember with dignity, with humility, with love. History is not just dates and facts. It is the ache of those who were left behind and the courage of those who chose to carry on. If this story touched you, speak to your elders. Ask them what they left behind and what they still carry. Because the past is not behind us. It lives in memory.